Right, we start with the breaking news in the last hour, and the government has added Turkey to the red list and told 8,000 fans not to travel to the country for the Champions League final between Manchester City and Chelsea. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps says the FA are in talks with UEFA and the government wants to hold the game in England. Well, the match is due to take place in Istanbul on May the 29th, but if it's unclear if players and staff would get exemption to avoid quarantine for 10 days on return. Any supporter who travelled would face the quarantine in a government-approved hotel at a cost of up to £1,750. Turkey is currently in its first full lockdown, which will last until at least Monday, the 17th of May. Shapps spoke about the final at a COVID briefing this evening.
You ask a very good question about the situation with regard to UEFA and the situation for Turkey. And as I said in my comments, I'm afraid we are having to put Turkey on the red list. And this will have a number of ramifications. And first of all, it does mean, I'm afraid, with regard to the Champions League, that fans should not travel to Turkey. The FA, I can tell you, are in discussions with UEFA already on this. We are very open to hosting the final, but it is ultimately a decision for UEFA. Of course, it's worth mentioning the UK has already got a successful track record of football matches with spectators, so we're well placed to do it. And I have spoken to the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport this afternoon about this. So we're very open to it. It is actually in the end a decision for UEFA to make, but given that there are two English clubs in that final, we look forward to hearing what they have to say.
Right, let's bring in Rob Dorset for more on this. Rob, a bit of a bombshell announcement. What is UEFA's response then?
Well, Hayley, UEFA are urgently discussing the matter. I think that's the best way to describe it. But you call it a bombshell there. And in truth, I don't think it is a bombshell from UEFA or the government's perspective. We knew that Turkey was a coronavirus hotspot. We knew that the UK government was this afternoon going to announce its review of which countries we could, as UK nationals, travel to under their traffic light system, the green, amber and red. Turkey went into its first national lockdown earlier this week. It has some of the highest numbers of coronavirus cases in Europe right now. So the fact that it's on the red list doesn't come as any huge surprise, and I don't think it comes as any huge surprise to UEFA. I think what you heard there from Grant Shapps was the UK government trying to put pressure on UEFA to shift the game to the UK, because that suits everybody in the UK, doesn't it? It suits everybody in England, because Manchester City and Chelsea players won't have the issue of potentially having to quarantine when they come back. It's yet to be determined, of course, whether they would have an elite athlete exemption if they went there in the first place. And likewise, up to 8,000 English fans, 4,000 of each from Manchester City and Chelsea, that we were expecting to attend this game. It would solve that problem as well, because they wouldn't leave the country and then have to quarantine and come back. So from a UK government point of view, that makes perfect sense. Shift the game to England. But from UEFA's point of view, it's nowhere near as simple as that, because that creates a whole raft of new problems for everybody else that's involved in this match. And you have to remember that the Champions League final is the biggest domestic game in Europe. It has a global audience, and it is attended globally by journalists, by broadcasters, by officials, by sponsors, all of whom have made plans to go to Istanbul. So just because the English government have changed their mind here, it doesn't solve any problems for them. You know, you've got a situation where all of those people, all of those officials would have to come to the UK instead, and may have to quarantine themselves before they go back to their own countries if the game is moved to the UK. So look, this is a very sensitive and difficult political issue, and it will now be in the hands of the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Department within government and UEFA to try and thrash this out and work out where they go from here. I think what it does mean, though, is it leaves UEFA's hopes and plans to have up to 8,000 fans inside the Ataturk Stadium on the 29th of May. It leaves those plans in absolute tatters now, because I don't see any practical way, the government having made the decision that it has this afternoon, that English fans can travel. We know that there will be no direct flights between the UK and Turkey as a result of them being put into the red area, the red zone. And whilst fans might try and be creative and find other ways to get to Istanbul, It's just not that simple for them. Whether they'll be allowed into the stadium, whether they'll be made to quarantine when they come back, it's all a little bit up in the air at the moment, and it's down to UEFA and the DCMS to try and sort it all out.
You talk about the practicalities of trying to travel there. Might be a bit easier to head to where you are, Rob. Maybe they could make their way to the Midlands, both sets of fans. Maybe Villa Park could be used as well. Do you think that is realistic? It would make sense, you'd have to think. Wembley, of course, not available.
Well, Wembley not available because it's already committed for the playoff finals, so it doesn't have any space in its schedule. And yes, we reported on Sky Sports News exclusively yesterday, didn't we, that Villa Park had made itself available to UEFA as a possible venue. But we also said yesterday, and we've said ever since, that it's almost an unrealistic possibility to expect Villa Park to be turned into a Champions League venue in the space of 3 weeks. There would have to be huge infrastructure changes to Villa Park. There would have to be huge changes in branding. They don't have a big enough press box. They don't have the media facilities. Trying to get the number of outside broadcast trucks that would be needed in the area. It's a huge undertaking to turn Villa Park, as it is now, into a stadium that's ready to host the Champions League. And 3 weeks tomorrow, the game is due to take place. So if I'm honest, having had further discussions today, I don't think it's possible or practical that Villa Park could be a venue for the Champions League final. So where does UEFA go from here? Well, that's what their officials are discussing at length now. They said, remember, only 2 days ago in a statement, UEFA, that they were still absolutely committed to Istanbul and the Ataturk Stadium to host this event. I think they would still like that to happen, but of course they've got to try and sort out how English players and any English fans potentially could get there and get back without quarantining, and that's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, it is that. Rob, thank you very much indeed.